Now, I humbly request our guest of honor, Reverend Father James Manampuram, General Manager of Mount Carmel Schools, to kindly grace the stage and address the gathering.
Hello.
So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome our guest of honor on the stage.
Reverend Father Abraham, Principal, Reverend Father Sebastian, Director, Reverend Sister Elsie, Vice Principal. Other dignitaries with us today, respected fathers, sisters, dear teachers, my dear children, and very dear parents. Good afternoon to you all. First of all, being here, I must thank Mukesh ji for allowing us to begin the function on time, knowing very well that he wouldn't be here and he couldn't make it. And we expect him anytime over here instead of making us wait. And my sincere appreciation to all the little children who have offered us a very beautiful treat to our eyes, keeping us very engaged with their spectacular performance. Getting them together to do so much isn't an easy task. So I very sincerely appreciate and thank and congratulate all the teachers and children for the performance that they have made, and I request all of you to put your hands together to appreciate them. Thank you very much. Now just a few words, since we have got a good gathering of the parents around us. I'll make a first reference to a news which I happened to read yesterday. That was about something that happened in the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. A 21-year-old research student committed suicide. And the college conveyed the message just on the 1st of December yesterday. We know hardly a week ago, there was a suspension of one of the IIT professors from Madras IIT, which was due to another under pressure suicide by another student, which happened in the month of March. 2023 has seen 5 such suicides in the highest and most prestigious learning centers of this country. From 2014 to 21, there were 122 students from across the IITs and IIMs and NITs of this country committing suicide. From 2020 to 2023, just over a period of 3 years, 33 students. These were all the ones who were celebrated to be the best brains of all the institutions around. And they were all trained very specifically to be the most spectacular brains that could have contributed wonderfully to this country. Making it to these celebrated IITs in itself wasn't an easy task. But somehow, because of the immense pressure that was put in, and almost getting them completely devoid of all sorts of human emotion in them, the children failed to find themselves. The undue expectations, unrealistic expectation, which is pouring immense levels of pressure on the children, somehow make them reach at a no return point. This is something which all of us have to think over. First, it is about making our children good human beings and then to be intellectuals or professionals. It's not that if someone excels just in the academics alone, that person could really become successful in life. We have got so many such examples. This day, as we are here, we need to understand we are living in a world which we don't ourselves understand at all. I don't think people sitting here do actually know how this country is being run. We only know what the media tells us. I don't think any of us sitting here really knows how the world functions. When the COVID-19 broke out, there were a lot of hue and cry saying that there must be some superstructure functioning behind it. So nobody is able to locate as to what is happening. Nobody is able to identify what is happening. Still we believe that we know ourselves fully and also our children well. Years ago, at the turn of every century, we thought there is a generation shift. And that was almost the way it happened because people lived almost up to 90 or 100 and even plus. Now, as per the current statistics and studies, from 1945, up to 1945, they call it a silent generation. From 1945 to 2013, rather 2012, they have identified 4 further generation shifts. That means within a span of about 50 years, when we originally had only just 100 per one generation shift, we have got a generation shift of 4 generations shifting within a span of just 50 years. The generation, the baby boomers, the generation X generation, then the millennials, and then the Z generation. The people who are behind the millennials are addressed as the digital immigrants. That means very many of us who sit here and consider ourselves to be digital experts are called digital immigrants. And the others, the millennials and the Z generation as the digital natives because they can't survive without that. And the anomaly is, in spite of having such fast pace of the world's movement, we feel that we understand our children well. My child cannot do this. My child cannot do this. Even a simple digital device that is in our hands, a mobile phone, that is the result of so many brains put together from different parts of the world. Even when we operate the social media on that, knowing that I'm an expert in this, we know the majority of its possibilities are unexplored by each of us. The little brain that we are interested with, the child of this generation is a lot more mysterious and complex than even that handheld device. Still, we don't bother to actually get into it. And we don't even realize about the collective responsibility, collective agency, and collective action. Going to the school and telling the teacher, this is your responsibility, it's not my responsibility. Even all, we need to have a proper training of those mysterious brains. We need to have our hands held together. It has to be a collective work. There has to be proper communication. There has to be proper understanding and proper interaction between the school and the parents and at home and with the child, so that we, at least to some extent, be able to identify and understand the child. Yesterday, there was a viral video doing rounds on the internet that was about a Korean 4-year-old child. And as part of a program, the child makes a confession. When he is asked about, I am sorry, I am alone. I don't have anyone to play with me. And then he was asked, how about your parents? I want my mom to be with me, but I think she does not like me. Even his parents watched it on the TV. They shed tears, and so many others did as well. So this is the kind of generation that we are. We want everything to be done by the children, but we don't have time to spare for the children. And still we claim that we know them as they are, and we want it all to happen. Let us not substitute our unfulfilled dreams and desires in the lives of our children. Let them chase their dreams and let them live their life. Let us just be mentors, knowing very well. In the previous generation, we used to take them holding their hands. Now we have to go after them to keep a pace with them because they're far ahead of us in terms of the exposure that they have. My dear parents and teachers who are around me, listening to me now, my humble submission, therefore, is to make sure that we don't put undue pressure and impossible expectations on our child and make their life messy and impossible to live. Let us be people who can identify their dreams and talents and get into them to assist them to chase their dreams and to find the fulfillment of their life. Thank you very much for your patient listening, and thank you one and all. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Father, for sharing your valuable thoughts. Father, kindly stay back to do the honors of felicitating our prize winners. I also request Reverend Father Sebastian, our director, Reverend Father Abraham, our principal, to kindly accompany our journal manager. Now, we are going to felicitate our first rank holders in the academics during the session 2022 and 23. We'll begin with class nursery. Section A, Rihansh Thakur, son of Mrs. and Mr. Vikrant Thakur. Divanshi, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Gaurav Kumar. Priyanshi Rana, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Anil Kumar. Nursery B, Advika Thakur, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. Nursery C, Eknoor, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Gaurav Dhiman. Nursery D, Rishabh, son of Mrs. and Mr. Neeraj Kumar. Nandini couple, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Avnish Kumar couple. Vibhuti Thakur, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Pankaj Rana. Nursery E, Adarsh Agnihotri, son of Mr. Mukesh. Rudraksh Sharma, son of Mrs. and Mr. Sushil Kumar. Ambika Rathod, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Rajkumar. Anyanka Thakur, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Pradeep Singh. Now LKG. LKG A, Rishima Chaudhary, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Parveen Kumar. LKG B, Ridhan Sood, son of Mrs. and Mr. Raghav Sood. LKG C, Kavish Uppal, son of Mrs. and Mr. Ish Uppal. LKG D, Shiva Thakur, son of Mrs. and Mr. Sushil Kumar. LKG E, Mayank Sehgal, son of Mrs. and Mr. Rohit Kumar. And Ruhan Kumar, son of Mrs. and Mr. Ram Kumar. Now UKG, Section A, Karunit Singh, son of Mrs. and Mr. Mehar Chand. UKG B, Arav couple, son of Mrs. and Mr. Akshay Kumar couple. UKG C, Jasnoor Kaur, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Ranjit Kumar Kang. UKG D, Samaksh, son of Mrs. and Mr. Ankur Kumar. UKG E, Ojas Thakur, son of Mrs. and Mr. Lakhvinder Singh. And Tisha, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Rishabh Gupta.
From class 1, I call upon Manit Joshi, son of Mrs. and Mr. Anil Kumar Joshi. Class 2, Arnav Sharma, son of Mrs. and Mr. Anil Kumar Sharma. Class 3, Mahi Mahajan, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Rakesh Mahajan. Class 4, Sameer Raizada, son of Mrs. and Mr. Rajiv Rana. Class 5, Adhya Dhiman, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Parveen Kumar. Class 6, Manya Gupta, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Sushil Gupta. Class 7, Riddhima Thakur, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Suman Kumar. Class 8, Harman Sangra, son of Mrs. and Mr. Sukhvinder Singh. Class 9, Anima Vashisht, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Varun Dev Vashisht. Class +1, Shashwita Ratra, daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Surinder Ratra. Congratulations to all the winners. We hope that you continue to bring laurels to our school. Now, on behalf of the school management, we present a special token of our love and reverence to our guest of honor, Reverend Father James Manampuram, the General Manager of Mount Carmel Schools, who spared his valuable time to grace this auspicious occasion with his benign presence. We sincerely appreciate your presence, Father. Thank you for being with us today. Your words of wisdom have really inspired us. Thank you. Thank you, Father.